Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news. Due to a change in wind direction, the residue from this morning's atomic detonation is drifting in the direction of...
Getting into World War II, the most educated scientists gathered on the Pajarito Plateau to build the atomic bomb to ensure the U.S. winning the war. But the issue is they did it on sacred land and did not consult with the native pueblos surrounding the area. Many of the radioactive waste bins were dumped into the arroyos and canyons, which seeped into the soil, which produced more plants for game animals to be ingested. The undisclosed locations of radioactive waste bins still have an effect on people downstream and upstream. Growing up, I heard parts of stories about how the land was destroyed, and recently I've come to know the rest of the story, and how the Los Alamos National Laboratory played a huge part in the desecration of the land, wildlife, and people in our native communities.
National Laboratory, the splitting of life. They split life, and we believe in life is a very sacred thing, or we wouldn't, be talking here and doing this.
Within my research, I questioned the morality of the Los Alamos National Laboratory. What's more important, the overall health and wellness of future generations, or the greater economic success at the expense of our bodies and lands?
After that, we're 80 years post-Manhattan Project now. The colonialism, the settler colonialism, so the difference between the colonization, ATION, and the ism is that those settler colonizers, those Manhattan Project scientists, they came and they never left, right? And so as a result, they've shifted that whole culture. So the ISM, as a result of that settler, creates that settler colonialism where the colonizer comes and they never leave. And so as a result, it's changed our culture. It's changed, everything about our culture and about the way that we live our lives. We're having to come to terms and call attention to those atrocities that they committed against our communities and that they continue to commit against our communities. But we're going to stand up for our communities and stand up against it in ways that our ancestors might not have known how to do. We have more tools to fight against the nuclear industrial complex now than they did in 1943, 44, 45.
I was walking with one of my ko'o in the walking path on the dirt roads. It was early, it was probably 6 a.m. And I just heard this explosion, just rumbling through the landscape. And I was just like, what the F was that? And she just was like, that's the bombs they're testing at Los Alamos. And I couldn't even talk. I was just really floored, and it happened again, maybe 5 minutes later. And I don't know if it was because it was during that sacred time of prayer in the morning, and but I felt it in my body. It was painful, and I just started crying. I was just weeping, and she didn't tell me any, she didn't shame me, or she understood. And I think it's but it was just this veil was lifted off my eyes of what was going on up there. I think we grew up with this culture of silence around it. We always knew there was scientists and things up there, but I didn't realize it was war, in my body and in my awareness.
Clan animals vanished even as the jobs began to appear. Unprotected hired hands from our valley, a job was nothing to fear. It was a welcome exchange in hard times. I wasn't yet born the day silver ash rained down for days and a plume of poison drifted over state lines. Radioactive fallout on cisterns of drinking water, on crops and livestock who all miscarried that year. The people were lied to and went about life as usual, while the truth fled with bread over their mouths to keep from breathing air they knew was foul, and the world was changed forever.
Land is very important because it's our home.
One of my fondest memories in just recent years is being able to go out with one of our traditional fathers and farm for the entire farming season. I think I was just able to really immerse myself into the land. And when I look at that memory, I think if whether or not, if I have children or not, if they'll be able to experience that themselves. As my positionality as a Pueblo woman, I often think about whether or not, if I do decide to have kids, are they going to have clean air? Are they going to have clean water? Are they going to be able to access the traditional homelands and the Santa Clara Canyon? Go hunting or gather certain natural herbs and cultural sacred plants, up in our canyon. Are they going to be able to do that with my brothers, their family as well? And beyond that, are they going to be able to do that with their children and their great grandchildren to come? And so, as my positionality, I feel like it's a little hard to figure out whether or not, I even want children, because of the fact that Los Alamos is literally like in our backyard.
Federal monies they should clean up the mess that was made in the past. Maybe that'll help a little bit. They clean up with their federal monies that they get. If they can clean up, then maybe our children and their children and their children might be able to live safer, healthier, without worries. But the way it's going, I fear for the future generations, because without the proper cleanup, they're all going to be sick. They're going to get sick. And where is our people going to be? Where are our children going to be? How are they going to be surviving? Because the laboratory gets federal monies, but really they don't care about the pueblos down this way to even clean it up.
It was only that the other side, which was deep in the canyon, had in fact, even for our initial plans, inadequate room. But also my feeling was that if you're going to ask people to be essentially confined, you mustn't put them in the bottom of a canyon. You have to put them on the top of a mesa. Well, that was, I think, more important.
There was a saying that came from traditional prophecies, in translation being, one of these days they're going to get sick too, meaning the Los Alamos people. Because as time went on and our people got sick, it was very much believed at that time a dead Indian was a good Indian, and they couldn't care less. The movie Oppenheimer has glorified the creation of Los Alamos and the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which brings recognition to a federally funded corporation. I, however, want to bring awareness to the voices left out to shift a paradigm and to bring positive change through action. In steps of making positive change, I took people to go see the film First We Bombed New Mexico, which is the untold story of the Trinity site, where the world's first nuclear bomb was detonated. It's a story that talks about the thousands of New Mexicans that were exposed to fatal levels of radioactive fallout. They were never warned, never acknowledged, and never helped afterwards. This documentary is witness to the people's narrative for voices not heard. During research, I encountered challenges when trying to conduct interviews because people feared having their name attached to their negative experiences or knowledge on Lano. I sought out many interviews, but because of the challenges, I decided to do a panel discussion focusing on defining and protecting tribal relationships with land. I was fortunate to have tribal members from my topic communities participate, including tribal leaders.
The land is our mother. That's Mother Earth. She's the one that provides everything that we need in this world to be able to sustain our lives as human beings.
Beautiful country, but at the same time, finding that balance and finding that level of comfort, and there may never be level of comfort when it comes to water pollution, contamination, environmental impacts. A lot of these things happened in the early 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, where trucks were just pulling up on a cliff and emptying and contaminated water, letting it go down there. And so what's the long-term effect is that's there. Is it on San Ildefonso land? We don't know yet. We're placing monitoring wells to check the water. But what's the long-term impact of those deer, elk, rabbits, birds that have been mentioned? Are they going to be safe for consumption? Are we going to have to restrict those areas for wood gathering that we burn within our own homes and within our kivas? And so it really makes you think about.
And we've come to realize that the federal government, the form of government, was never created for us. That's why we're always fighting with the state government, the county government, the federal government. We're trying to hold the federal government to their responsibility to the tribes. There are pretty much over 500 plus tribes from coast to coast and border to border. So in this case, they didn't do that. Lano didn't come out and say. That issue is still happening to this very day. We haven't come to an understanding as to what they want. How it impacts all of us is the traditional cultural ways that we practice. It impacts the wildlife. I'm a hunter. These guys are probably hunters too, fishermen, and there's game out there. There's medicinal plants that are out there, let alone the traditional sites that we venture to. So when development comes around, we have to be knowledgeable on the Western Front too.
We can't change the past, but we could speak up for the future generations. We can encourage others to speak up and question what is happening to our Mother Earth. And ultimately, we can share our knowledge with the world by unveiling the true history and how it has negatively impacted our homes, our communities, and our families. It was once said that the best Indian is a dead Indian, but in reality, the best Indian is resilient because we are still here. Kundawaha, thank you.
This song is for you. I miss you so much. I know you're near, but I wish you were here. I don't know what to do since you left, because you were